Happy Saturday, Bengals fans. Welcome on into another edition of Bengals Breakdown. I am your host, Stone Shields. Could the Bengals really be in trouble again going on the road to Charlotte to take on the Carolina Panthers? On today's edition of Bengals Breakdown, we're going to take a look at some matchups the Bengals need to win if they want to be successful in this football game, as well as take a look at about 4 players that also need to really have a good game for Cincinnati, or at least play a lot better than they have been through 3 weeks in this season. So we got another little preview video for you guys as we take a look at Bengals versus Panthers on the road at Charlotte, trying to find and secure their first win of the 2024 season. By the way, doing a little solo producing here on today's show, so if you see me look down, just bear with me. Appreciate you guys. Just trying to do multiple things at once. So, if you believe Cincinnati will win Sunday, if you believe Cincinnati will break through and finally get their first victory of the 2024 season, spam WHO DEY for us in the comments section. Trying to get about 150 comments at least on this video, so help us out. The person that comments the most on this video will get a shout out in a future video. So spam WHO DEY, spam whatever you got to spam in the comments section. Show your excitement and let me know if you think Cincinnati will be victorious for the first time this year on Sunday. First matchup I want to take a look at, of course, you know I had to have this on here. The run defense versus Carolina. The Bengals' interior defensive line, their run-stopping guys really have not done a good job this season for Cincinnati. And Carolina, certainly one of the weaker teams in the National Football League, but they have a running back by the name of Chuba Hubbard that can go out there and really make you pay with his legs. And he's had a pretty solid season to this point, 37 carries, almost 200 yards, averaging 5.2 yards per rush. So he's a guy that the Bengals are really going to have to do a good job of containing if they want to be successful in this game. He's no Isaiah Pacheco, of course, but this is a guy that, if you let him get some space out there, he will make you pay. He's great at, breaking some tackles. The Bengals, of course, have had their struggles in the tackling department as well this season. So some guys are really going to have to step up along that defensive, the entirety of that defensive line. Trey Hendrickson, he didn't really show up until the end of that Monday Night Football game, but it seems a little bit unfair to put a little criticism on Trey Hendrickson because he really is the only guy that produces for Cincinnati at that position. Sam Hubbard, will spend some more time talking about him later in the show. Kind of an interesting development regarding Sam Hubbard and maybe a reason as to why he hasn't played up to snuff so far this year. But when you look at the interior of the defensive line, guys like B.J. Hill and Sheldon Rankins aren't going to be out there. Sheldon Rankins is officially out for this week's game, and B.J. Hill, according to head coach Zach Taylor, is going to be doubtful. So it looks like the Bengals are going to be without their 2 starting defensive tackles once again in this football game. So guys are going to have to step up. A guy in particular, Lawrence Guy, funnily enough, he got some snaps last week on Monday night. We'll see if his role increases. I thought the Bengals saw some good things out of him. Chris Jenkins had a solid debut, I think, so he might be thrust more into the fire. But some people are going to have to step up along that defensive line. I feel like a broken record saying it, but Bengals cannot get gashed again on the ground like they have in previous weeks. Which leads us to the pinned comment of today's video. Will the Bengals D get gashed again? Seemingly, when you take a look at the numbers in terms of like yards per rush, it really hasn't been exactly bad as it seems like. But I think anybody that's watched the game, when when teams hand the ball off against Cincinnati, you just don't have any faith that the Bengals are going to be able to stop that. It feels like they're going for 5 yards at least every time they hand the ball off. So let us know in the comments section, will the Bengals D get gashed again? It is the pinned comment of today's video, so if that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. Get down in the comments section, take advantage of it, and let us know what you think. Kind of pivoting around that, what's the Bengals' run offense going to look like against Carolina? The first 2 weeks of the season against New England and Kansas City really didn't have any success on the ground, did these Cincinnati Bengals. But that really turned around last week on Monday Night Football against Washington. Both Zach Moss and Chase Brown had really solid games for Cincinnati on Monday night. It definitely was Zach Moss's Best game as a Cincinnati Bengal, no doubt about that. He really looked pretty explosive out there, not nearly as explosive as Chase Brown, which we'll touch on in a moment. But he's done a great job. Has gotten in the end zone twice for Cincinnati this year. So that was, I was really kind of banging on Zach Moss the first couple of weeks, but he looked like the player that the Bengals had hoped he would be when they signed him in free agency on Monday Night Football. Will be interesting to see if he can back up that performance once again against Carolina. Chase Brown, you just see the carry discrepancy between those two guys. I want that thing to be a little bit more 50-50, or at some point I want Chase Brown taking over for Zach Moss. Chase Brown, just every time he touches the ball, it's just an explosion, averaging 7.4 yards a carry. I think he's looked really, really good. Also a threat out of the backfield as well for Cincinnati. Not nearly the pass block guy that Zach Moss is, which I think is why you see kind of the reps dispersed how they are. But Chase Brown, Zach Moss, we'll see if those guys are going to be able to back up their performance from Monday night and have a solid ground game again for Cincinnati on Sunday in Charlotte against the Panthers. Another matchup here is the quarterback matchup. Joe Burrow versus Andy Dalton. And I really even can't believe that I'm saying that. It's just really hard for me to wrap my head around. I mean, Andy Dalton was this team's quarterback for nearly a decade. And, people have different opinions on Andy Dalton. He certainly was a great guy, right? He was a nice guy, 100%, no doubt about that. But maybe he just didn't have that edge that, quarterbacks need to have in order to push them over the top. Ultimately won a lot of games here with Cincinnati. But as far as the postseason goes, really wasn't able to do much. But was he good last week in Vegas for this Carolina team. Really was locked in. His offensive line was giving him some time to operate. And he really was able to torch that Antonio Pierce-led Las Vegas Raiders defense. Threw for 3 tutties, over 300 yards, had a really solid game. It really would just be an awful feeling. Obviously, it's going to be an awful feeling regardless if the Bengals fall to 0-4. But imagine falling 0-4 at the hands of Andy Dalton. That would just be like, what are we doing at that point if that were to happen? But another opportunity for you guys to get interactive here with our show. Did you appreciate Andy Dalton when he was here with the Cincinnati Bengals? Sound off for us. Let me know in the comment section. Look, I certainly did. Were the playoff losses unbearable? For sure. But Andy Dalton really helped kind of turn this team around, gave us some exciting moments, no doubt. Felt like all those games that he was involved in came down to the wire pretty much. So I definitely appreciate him, but the Bengals definitely have taken a significant step up with who they've got playing quarterback for him now in Joe Burrow. But be honest with me, sound off for us in the comments of today's show. Lastly, the last matchups is the kind of the explosives on offense for Cincinnati. That wide receiving core going against those DBs of the Panthers. The Bengals finally broke out and had some explosive plays last week on Monday Night Football, and I think in large part that is due to T. Higgins being back, and that really helped open up things for Jamar Chase. And you saw Chase have a really massive game for Cincinnati last week, going for 2 scores, having some big plays down the sideline. And, obviously was his best game of the year thus far. Absolutely no doubt about that. So the Bengals are going to need those explosive plays to carry over once again into this game against the Panthers. Maybe we'll see T. Higgins, get some shots down the field. He only had 30-some yards on that Monday night game. We'll see if they test out that hamstring, maybe try some deep shots with a guy like T. Higgins. Andrei Iosivas has been brilliant for you. Particularly in the red zone, having 3 of those touchdowns that the Bengals have scored on the year. But Bengals are really going to need some explosive plays in this game. They have the ability to do that. They've got matchups everywhere. They've got way better receivers than the Panthers do defensive backs. So there's really no reason that the Bengals shouldn't have at least a couple of big explosive plays down the field. Continue with our preview here in a moment, but we want to remind you guys that Amarius Mims rookie jerseys are available now. Amarius Mims, of course, is going to be starting for Cincinnati coming up this week against the Carolina Panthers. His first start as a pro football player. Made his debut last week for Cincinnati on Monday Night Football, but he's going to get the nod as a starter here for Cincinnati in this game. So show him some support. Show him some love. Go over to our friends at Fanatics. Check them out and get you an Amarius Mims rookie jersey. That link will be in the comments section and the description of today's video. All right, 4 players to watch. Player number 1, Sam Hubbard. Sam Hubbard has looked like a shell of himself this year. In fact, he's been one of the worst defensive linemen in the National Football League. Really kind of hard to believe, but that's just been reality for this guy this year for Cincinnati. And kind of interesting, he was talking to Dan Horde, of course, the voice of the Bengals, talking about a hamstring issue that he is dealing with. Hasn't popped up on the Bengals injury report, but he alluded to the fact that this hamstring issue might linger throughout the entirety of the season. So maybe that is perhaps a reason why he hasn't been able to have the success that we're used to seeing out of Sam Hubbard so far this year. But regardless, if that hamstring is really the issue and he continues to produce the way he has, which isn't much at all, Bengals might need to look to make a move at that position. I know he's a beloved guy here in Cincinnati. All Bengals fans love him, myself included. But if he keeps playing the way he has been, Bengals are going to need to search for answers in a different direction than Sam Hubbard. Second player to watch, Amarius Mims. How is he going to hold up? I think he gets a favorable matchup here going against Carolina, kind of to ease him in. This is kind of like the perfect matchup you would want for a rookie offensive tackle going in to play a team like Carolina. It's not like he's getting thrown out to the wolves, having to play a pass rush like something that he'll see in the AFC North with Baltimore, Pittsburgh, or Cleveland. I think the Bengals are going to learn a lot about what they have in Amarius Mims. If you watch the show, you know I am a big Amarius Mims believer. I believe the Bengals have found their right tackle of the future in Mims. Thought he was solid in his debut. Gave up a pretty bad sack, but for the most part, I think he was solid. Really excited to see how he plays on that right side for Cincinnati, with Trent Brown, of course, being out for the season with that knee injury that he suffered on Monday Night Football. Again, another opportunity for you guys to get interactive with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. What is your confidence level in Amarius Mims? Scale it for me in the comments section. 1 to 10. Be honest with me. Let me know what you think. What is your confidence level in Bengals rookie right tackle, Amarius Mims? Third player on this list, Geno Stone. Look, I was bullish on Geno Stone. I was excited when the Bengals brought him in from Baltimore, signed him to a contract. Geno Stone has been a letdown to this point. He's gotten beat over the top. He's missed some tackles. He's blown some assignments, things that I was not expecting to see from Geno Stone. I thought the Bengals safeties were really going to do a much better job this year. I thought it was going to be a massive upgrade, but Stone and Bell really haven't been great to this point. And look, you're 0-3. If you lose, obviously you're 0-4. If he goes out there and isn't playing well, I know Lou Anarumo doesn't like rotating those safeties, but you might have to look at a guy like Tyson Anderson to go out there and play for your football team and give him a chance if Geno Stone continues to play the way he has, which is not very well. So big game for Geno Stone. Don't want to see him get beat. Don't want to see him let anything over his head throughout this game against Carolina. Really looking at Stone on the back end. Von Bell's beat up with that back issue. So Stone's a guy that's going to have to do a really good job for Cincinnati on Sunday if they want to go out there and win this game and ultimately play a little bit better on the defensive side of the football. Last guy to watch, Joe Burrow, quarterback 1. Look, past 2 games, Joe Burrow's been brilliant. But guess what? You're the quarterback of this football team. You're getting paid the big bucks, one of the highest paid guys in the National Football League, highest paid quarterback, what have you, one of them. Look, Joe Burrow's got to go out there and put this team on his back and go out there and win this football game. I know that, some people get bent out of shape. Oh, wins aren't quarterback stats. Joe Burrow needs to find a way to win this game. That's just the way it is. He cannot start 0-4. He has to figure this out and find a way to get a victory on the board for his football team. Just reality. When you play that position and you have as much talent as he does and you get paid the big bucks, I know he's played really good the past 2 weeks. I've been saying it. I'm excited about it. But he's got to find a way to get this team a win. He has to do enough in order for this team to win this football game. You're playing the Carolina Panthers. You're not playing Baltimore or Pittsburgh or Kansas City or Buffalo. You're playing the Carolina Panthers. You're playing Andy Dalton, okay? You need to go out there as the quarterback of this football team, put a brilliant performance out there, and give your team every possible chance to win this football game. I'm looking for Joe Burrow to be locked in from start to finish, make a lot of big plays, and really ultimately have a massive game. We'll keep an eye on the weather. Joe Burrow, when it's raining, you get a little bit concerned about that, no doubt about that. So we'll see. Obviously, the hurricane doing crazy things weather-wise in this country. We'll see if anything works its way up to Charlotte. But if the weather's manageable, I want Joe Burrow slinging that thing around the football field and having a massive game for Cincinnati. And we will be live for that game here at our channel, Bengals Breakdown by Chat Sports. Really excited about it. We've had a lot of fun the first 3 weeks, but all of which have resulted in a loss. So certainly trying to switch that up for week 4. We will be live around noon Eastern tomorrow. So really hope you guys join us. In order to do so, you're going to need to hit that sub button. That's youtube.com/BengalsTV.